Going on YouTube, Cloverbuzz here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're continuing our early regulationG team building series, and next up is to focus on Kyogre. So Tornadus is the way to go, right, in the early going, and as is the case in in most restricted formats where Kyogre is featured, you always want this idea to create this tailwind, so this way Kyogre can click its favorite move, right, Water Spout, hence the name for these players, Tornadus, Timmy, right? Because all they have to do is click Tailwind, click Water Spout, things melt, and the game is over. However, it's not so easy as you get higher up in the ladder because players are going to be prepared for that. They have ways around that, aka wide guard, aka fake out, aka whatever move that they can do. Like there are tools to stop Tailwind plus Water Spout. There are ways around it. We can even talk about that in a separate video. Just like how, you can always discuss ways to stop Calyrex, Shadow Rider, right? But this is at least the basic form. This is always option one that needs to be respected anytime, you're going against Kyogre teams. How do I stop Tailwind, Water Spout? Like, that's like question one in team preview, right? So then from there, as the Kyogre player, okay, if they have options, right, what can I do, right? What is my options for their options, right? So first of all, this is the main core, right? But then after that, we get a nice little tool in Scarlet and Violet that can help the archetype a little bit. And that is in the form of Archaludon, or some of you pronounce it as Archaludon. Either way, Steel Dragon's going to be good, especially in the rain over here, this Archaludon. Why? Because you have Electro Shot. And if you remember, Pelipper teams, Electro Shot is 100%. Not 100% accurate, but you don't need to charge it, right, because you have the rain. So there's the benefit of Kyogre right away. And this is where you're really building the team around, right? Because again, Kyogre being weak to, grass moves, electric moves, Archaludon doesn't really care about all of that. And then at the same time with the Assault Vest, you're going to rack up stamina boosts. You're going to get all these defense boosts. And that means you're going to have hard-hitting body presses, right? And if your opponent decides to click Snarl because you have 3 special attackers, that's going to help you even more, because again, any kind of chip that you take is just going to raise your defense, and then that just means you're going to have harder hitting body presses, right? So again, Archaludon, this is a pretty good support idea, because again, with Archaludon being weak to ground moves, weak to landers, weak to Groudon, right? You need something against those mons, right? Kyogre can do that for you, so there's the synergy. And then, of course, Tornadus with Tailwind, and now bleakwind is really, really strong now. So, like, Tornadus actually gets a buff in regulationG just because, I don't need Pelipper now. I have Kyogre, okay? And Kyogre now making bleakwind storms 100% accurate is very good news. You can even make the Tornadus a little bit more offensive now, so now these bleakwind storms are going to start hurting. Okay, like I even considered Life Orb Tornadus at one point, right? Just so that, and just make it super bulky and modest, and then now bleakwinds are gonna do a little bit more damage. But I have not explored that route, but I did think about it, and maybe it's something that I do a little bit more off ladder, right? But where do I go from here? So Trick Room matchup can be a problem. I do want like at least a grass Pokemon on this, and Amoongus makes a lot of sense here because again, with the Amoongus and just giving you a matchup into Trick Room teams, right? Of course, with the Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff. What happens here is, when Kyogre takes a lot of chip, the Water Spout is not doing a lot of damage, but now the Amoongus can help you with that, right? Because now the Amoongus can heal you with Pollen Puff, and now your Water Spout damage is going to do well. Amoongus in the rain is very good because now you're taking reduced fire damage. So imagine Heat Crashes from Groudon or Gouging Fire now all of a sudden aren't doing as much just because Kyogre's rain is having a huge impact in that regard, right? And then, of course, the Spore Pressure, just putting things to sleep, the redirection, so this way Kyogre can safely get off the Water Spout without taking much chip damage. So, very good synergy right away, just having a good, strong grass type here. You can technically put Rillaboom here, but I want a little bit better matchup there. But Rillaboom also was pretty good, especially against, like, terrain teams, with Calyrex Indeedee or Miraidon, so that's always going to be a factor. So this way, Amoongus, may not be able to change terrain, but at the very least, can help you, against those Trick Room teams. All right, so then where do we go from here? So now, after this, I do need a little bit more of a physical mode to the team, right? And Urshifu just makes a lot of sense, right? The Scarf Ursh idea in the rain is very good, right? Because again, Scarf Ursh, one of the main issues with Scarf Ursh is you're giving up Mystic Water damage because you're opting for the Choice Scarf, but in exchange you get speed. But now, if you bring out Kyogre's Rain, you're not going to be lacking in damage anymore because, you know, the Rain's going to make your Surging Strikes do more damage, and now you get to keep the speed benefit of the Choice Scarf, right? And then, of course, you still have Tailwind, which is also going to help you even more, right? But Urshifu hurts in the rain, okay? I think we saw this in Sword and Shield. Urshifu very much hurts in the rain, right? And we'll round out the rest of this team, you know, once we get the 6. Now, you can technically go Incineroar here, you know, for, again, Fake Out, you know, Parting Shot stuff. But I don't think you necessarily need Incineroar on a team like this, right? It's fine. Like, if you want to play it like this, go right ahead. But I want to have Urshifu do a little bit more damage and a little bit more damage from the physical side. So Chien-Pao also just makes sense here. Again, same thing. You know, now I get a Dark type on the team, so I can blow up terrain anyway, right, with Ice Spinner. So now I have a solution to the Amoongus over Rillaboom issue, right? Because Rillaboom was able to override terrain where Amoongus cannot, but now I have Chien-Pao here. So I kind of take care of that problem in itself, and now I get a Dark type on the team, which is good against the Calyrex stuff. I can always pressure with Sucker Punch once that Psychic Terrain is gone. I have good ice damage against stuff like Groudon, so it just works out, right? So after that, you know, now I just round out the rest of the team here. But like Urshifu, Chien-Pao, of course, is going to give you good physical damage. Amoongus gives you a little bit of a backbone here, your Cleric. And then, of course, Tornadus, another support Pokemon, like we said, to give the entire team speed control. And then Archaludon and Kyogre, they're going to be doing most of your damage from the special end, right? So, yeah. So from here, where do we want to go with this? So with Kyogre, I think because the Scarf is over here, it only makes sense to put the Mystic Water here, all right? And then from here, you do get Ice Beam, and then you do get Protect, okay? Now, this second move here, it really just depends on you as the player, how you want to do this. You have a few options. You can simply say, look, I'm going to use Kyogre's old school signature move of Origin Pulse because after I've taken a ton of damage from Water Spout, I need a strong water move. I don't get Scald this time. Okay, yep, I don't get Scald. So that's unfortunate, but I do get Origin Pulse. So 85% chance to miss, but listen, at the end of the day, 85% chance is still pretty good, right? So you kind of have to bite the bullet there. But this is, again, why Amoongus is on the team, right? So this way you have hopes of healing yourself. But if you don't want the Origin Pulse, you can get a little bit more coverage on your team and instead go for Thunder because, again, you are in the rain. Thunder is 100% accurate. This is going to be good into the mirror matchup potentially, right? But again, you do have Archaludon for Electro Shot, which is why I don't necessarily think you need Thunder here this time around. So it's better off to just go with Origin Pulse. Now, that being said, you can go for the subjective Calm Mind set, right? The Kyogre Calm Mind. That was a thing back in Sword and Shield where you just do like this Leftovers set. That's Life Orb, right? This Leftovers Calm Mind set with Water Spout and Ice Beam. So that's also pretty good. But then this is probably just Origin Pulse because you're trying to set it up. But, you know, this is probably something to explore a little bit later, not maybe right now. But again, it does exist and do expect to see that. But for now, let's keep it simple. Let's do Origin Pulse anyway. Ice Beam here. And the benefit of Scarlet and Violet now is Kyogre has the ability to terrestrialize, right? So you have a few options, right? Your weaknesses are grass, your weaknesses are electric. So what are you gonna do? So you can easily go Terra Dragon here, but that's pretty good. But that makes you weak to the other dragons running around right now, as well as Fluttermane. So maybe you can also go with something like Terra Grass. That's pretty good. So this way you can resist the Rillaboom stuff. And Grass in Rain is, like we said, pretty good because, again, you're taking reduced damage from fire type attacks. The only thing you really have to worry about is flying. And then in that sense, you know, you can always pivot your Archaludon there and then just soak that up and get a nice little boost to your body press stuff, right? So I think Terra Grass is the way to go right now. Tornadus here. I like, you know, there's so many items you can put on this thing. You could do Clover Cloak. You can do, you know, a Citrus Berry set on this Tornadus, right? It just really all depends on how you want to run it. You can even do something like Rocky Helmet over here. Okay, so this way you can punish some of those physical attackers, right? So really, it depends on you. But because I decided at the time to put a Citrus Berry here, okay, I wanted to then go for a Rocky Helmet over here, right? So then from here, I wanted a Steel Terra, right, which is pretty good against the Ice weakness, also technically Rock as well. And then at the same time, I wanted Protect here, and this last slot can be a lot of different things. You could have Taunt here. I've experimented with that, has been good. You can also do, what's that other move called? Scary Face. This is what I had for most of my testing, and you know, this helps against the mirror, right? So this is also pretty good. You can also consider Icy Wind, again, also pretty good into the mirror if you want to go that route. But sometimes, you know, Groudon matchups gets a little bit tricky, right? Because when they switch in your Groudon, your Kyogre is doing reduced damage, but that's not true the other way around, right? You know, even if Kyogre comes in and changes Groudon's weather, Groudon doesn't take any damage loss, okay? It's still clicking Precipice Blades at full strength, whereas your Water Spout is at reduced strength because of the way how weather works, right? So it might just be even better just to have dual Rain Dance here on Tornadus, right? So this way, even when Groudon does come in, okay, you can just manually change it back and then click either Water Spout or Origin Pulse, right? And same thing goes for Urshifu, right? So, you know, same thing. You can click Tailwind, and then next turn you can even click Rain Dance if you don't want to bring in the Kyogre immediately right then and there. So you can definitely do that, okay? And then from here, you know, I just click Protect here. So that's also pretty good. Now, Archaludon here, pretty standard stuff, right? Electro Shot, then you can just go Flash Cannon, and then Draco Meteor, you know, for big damage. And then Amoongus, like we said, Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, and then just simply put Protect here. I like also Terra Water here. Again, you know, just another good solid defensive Terra. All right, Urshifu over here, standard stuff with close combat, Aqua Jet, and then simple U-turn just to pivot yourself out, right? And this is another one where I like Terra Steel. Steel in the Rain, pretty solid. You know, again, resist Flutter Mane Fairy stuff. As well as the flying resist, so that's also pretty good in itself, right? Chien-Pao, Ice Spinner, Sacred Sword, Sucker Punch. All right, Protect is pretty good. Focus Sash, of course. All right, and then, you know, Terra Ghost at the end of the day, right? So I think we've got our baseline here, okay? By the way, you can technically put Landorus here, right? Because, you know, Kyogre, Tornadus, both weak to electric moves. If you have Landorus, that will also, you know, be a nice pivot, and then you can do Sandsear Storms. So we can even show you something like that as soon as we finish this. So this way you have like an alternative build. But other than that, you know, I still think like this is a good solid 6 to start with, okay? Because you have a lot of different tools. You have the aggression with Tornadus Ogre, you know, Chien-Pao Urshifu. You got Amoongus, Archaludon coming in for defensive, offensive situations, right? So all in all, I think it's a pretty decent way to kick things off with Kyogre, right? So let's do some EV spreads. I think the easiest one is just to do the Chien-Pao first. Straight up 252, 252. I like Adamant Nature. You know, I am Sash anyway, so might as well. The Ursh over here. So I just want Adamant, of course, you know, maximum amount of damage. And believe it or not, I just want max speed Ursh here, you know, because there's so much Ursh going around. At the very least, let's make it come down to a speed tie. And then from here, I decided to do this just to get a little bit more out of my damage, right? And then after that, just round the rest off with, you know, your leftover UVs, 1 point in HP, just in case you do run into Rillaboom, a little bit more optimal terrain recovery, couple points in defense, and then just 1 point in Spadef, right? You can make this a little bit bulkier, right? You can even do something like this, where you might say, look, I've got Kyogre Rain, I don't need as much damage, you know, I can add more bullet into my bulk here, something like this. Right? You can even do that. That's totally fine. Or you can put more in your HP, right? But other than that, it really just depends on how you want to play the Ursh. I just want this thing to come in and click the biggest surging strikes as much as it can possibly do, especially with Chien-Pao over here, right? So that's what I decided to do. Amoongus here, Relaxed Nature with 0 speed. Okay, that's really all I want this Amoongus to do. I just wanted this to be a bulky shroom. So let's go 220 here for the berry recovery. Let's hit the bump here at 121, okay? And then the rest here just goes into Spadef like this, 108, right? And again, if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, and if you don't know what EV bumps are, and if you don't understand how we're going to do our EVs, right, where we're going to show you how to optimize them, feel free to comment in the video description below, what are EV bumps? Because they're an important thing to understand, right? You know, I did it here with the Amoongus. Here's the second bump in its natured stat. But if you don't know what they are or how it works, just comment what are EV bumps, and then we will reply to you, okay? Okay, how about this? Let's show some bumps here. Let's do Kyogre here. I just want max speed Ogre, but I am gonna go modest. Okay, but I'm not gonna go all the way. I'm gonna go to the second bump here, 156, right? And then I don't really need Spidef. It's already super bulky. Just put 1 point there. So really what it comes down to, actually, you know what? Let me make this even less. See, I don't need all this speed. I think 127 is pretty good. So we'll explain that in a second, but 216 EVs left to play with here. So it turns out that if I go for a little bit more of an HP number here, 192 and an 84, right? So 132 investment puts me at 192 HP. This is again for another benchmark number for, you know, grassy terrain Rillaboom recovery if they do bring it, right? And then the rest will go into my defensive bulk like this. Now, why am I doing this? It turns out that this will survive Rillaboom Grassy Glide boosted by Chien-Pao, right? So if I show you that calc here, so here's my defensive investment, right, that I was looking at earlier. And here is the Grassy Glide. It's Adamant 116, right, which is the most common Rillaboom at the moment. That may change as the format progresses. They may go a little bit more, but either way, with, you know, boosted by Sword of Ruin over here, right, you can kind of see the calc. In an, oh, well, it disappeared. Wait a second. Wait, that's not good. Where'd it go? Nope. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it just came back. Oh, sorry about that. All right, but yeah, anyway, back to the Ogre. So again, I figured out my defensive investment, right, with the HP and the defense. And then after that, I went to the second benchmark in special attack, and then really the speed was the leftover. But like I said, I just wanted to outspeed, you know, pretty much most of the Rillabooms running around. You know, all I needed was about 120, but then I figured, let me just do a little bit more. Let's add some speed creeping purposes over here. And, you know, 127 Ogre was all right. Tornadus here, you know, we'll get to this one in a second. I want to show Archaludon here. So, you know, modest was the way. And really the key was just to survive Groudon stuff as well as close combat Urshifu boosted by Chien-Pao. Those were some of the calcs I decided to pick up. But first with the speed, I want to at least do 112, technically 113 for speed creeping. So under Tailwind, I can outspeed the Calyrex Shadow Rider. That was the main thing, right? Then after that, I want to at least put in 116 investment to start things off, you know, with my special attack. But again, with this 332 EVs left, I wanted to at least have some bulk to survive the Urshifu boosted by Chien-Pao, as well as Groudon 252 Precipice Blades, right? So if I go into damage calc, I just went here. You know, just about this much. Okay, 252 HP. How much defense would I need, right? So I went to Archaludon here. Okay, how much would I need? Okay, for Groudon, Precipice Blades. I actually live it already, all things considered. So this is Adamant 252 Groudon, which is good, right? Because Archaludon's HP and defense is so high. So I was good there no matter what. The Ursh was the one that I had to focus on. So let's do Reg F focus set. Yeah, let's do it like this, right? So he's Adamant 252, right? See, that kills, right? But, you know, even with Sword of Ruin, so I have to be aware. But after +1 is where I wanted to do this, right? So take away the Sword of Ruin first. So let's say at +1, can I live this? And I do very much now add Sword of Ruin, and I still live this. So this is pretty good, right? With I don't even need any defense investment at this point, right? So, you know, just 1 or 2 points. If I did 1 point, then it's an uneven number. I wanted to get a little bit more, you know, with my stamina boost. So let's get an even number here with 12. And then after that, you just round it out here with some Spidef, just like this. And that's really all I needed out of Archaludon here. In fact, I even took 2 more points here and I put a little bit more in Spidef just to get a little bit more Spidef, right? Because, you know, it doesn't really change the damage calc. Even if I take 2 points off here, I still have the damage calc that I need with the Sword of Ruin boosted Urshifu close combat, as long as I'm +1, you know, with my body press stuff. So I have to have taken a little bit of chip somewhere else to live this, right? But again, still a very good investment here. In terms of a Terra, look, I still like Grass here. Again, Grass in the rain is really solid. And then at the same time, I removed that fighting weakness anyway. I removed my ground weakness as well. So, you know, and now I can also get around Amoongus, right? So, you know, again, that's my reasoning there. We already did Amoongus here. We did this guy. All right, so Tornadus. So here's the thing. I still wanted this to be a little bit more harder hitting than normal. So I still went with Modest Nature, okay? I still went 116 investments, all right, to get to that second benchmark there. And I had like no speed and no Spidef, right? Because I'm clicking a bunch of priority moves anyway. I'm going to be under Tailwind. I'm going to outspeed everything, okay? So really what it came down to was just this. where I had 244 and 140. This allowed me to live the Urshifu single strike stuff. So I lived single strike. I also lived it, Chien-Pao boosted, and all in all, but good physical defense from Tornadus is always the way I like to play it. I usually play a bold Tornadus, right? Many of you know that if you remember our team building videos or even our rental codes. We always play bold Tornadus just to be able to resist, a lot of these physical attacks like Dragonite, extreme speed, boosted by Chien-Pao. That's another thing you can also live. But this time around, I wanted to re-experiment a little bit. Let me go modest. Let me go a little bit harder hitting because my bleakwind storms are finally 100% accurate, right? So once I click tailwind, I can click bleakwind storm. Or again, if you don't have rain dance, you can always click icy wind here or some other support move. But either way, that's really how I approached it with my Tornadus, and I was okay with it, right? I gave up a little bit of bulk by going modest instead of bold, but at the end of the day, it was still totally fine, right? So this is what we look like in terms of testing, in terms of EV spread. So now let's go ahead and showcase some of our practice games just so you can see how the team played out. All right, so this is someone playing Miraidon here. He's got 3 Iron Mons there. He's got Bundle, Iron Leaves, and Iron Jugulis, right? So all of them are buffed this time around because they have the granddaddy Miraidon. So I don't think you need all 3 of them over there, but I do think at least 1 or 2 is good enough. But I do see that Fire, Water, Grass core there with Iron Bundle, Incineroar, and Iron Leaves. So there's that. I think the Iron Leaves, as long as it has Clear Amulet, can actually put on some pressure this time around. And, Leaf Blade into Kyogre does not look good. So this is where Terra Grass is going to help me. This is also where Chien-Pao can really help me, right? Because Ice Spinner can blow up this terrain. And he has 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 Pokemon weak to ice, right? And he can't Terra all of them. So, Chien-Pao does look pretty good. So does somewhat Urshifu a little bit, right? Because I can remove Incineroar. I can also remove Thundurus technically. So, you can even consider Ursh. But I think Kyogre and Torn can just really clean things up in the end game as long as I can get rid of that Thundurus, right? So, in the end, I decided to go with Tornadus and Urshifu first, right? So, no Chien-Pao here. Chien-Pao would have been great here, but I didn't decide to bring it. So he goes for Eerie Impulse into Tornadus. Not that that thing was doing that much damage anyway. I just need to get rid of this Thundurus, right? So I clicked Tailwind Surging Strikes. And even if I were to lose the Ursh right here, right now, to the Miraidon, it would be totally fine. So there's the Volt Switch. That could be specs, who knows? But here comes Iron Leaves. And there's the attack stat, and here comes Iron Jugulis. He's got Tailwind of his own, right? But is he even going to get a chance? I've got Kyogre in here, right? So I go Terra Grass so I can live the Iron Leaf stuff. I'm going to go Bleakwind Storm, get a little bit chip. He goes for Snarl instead of his own Tailwind. I think that's a mistake. But here we go, Water Spout, good damage into Jugulis, KOs it, and then Leaves does go for the Blade, which we do survive because, again, we went with our Grass Terra. Here comes Miraidon here, and again, he goes for Electro Drip. We actually lived that, we take that very well, all right? Here's Bleakwind, we remove the Iron Leaves, which is good, so good job Tornadus, even though he was snarled, right? Ice Beam is good damage into Miraidon. He can't really break this, right, at this point, and he just has no choice but to forfeit. So we did give up our Ursh, right? But at the end of the day, Tornadus Ogre was looking pretty good, and I didn't even use the Chien-Pao. Alright, so this is Groudon here, and there's his Wide Guard user with the Iron Valiant, but other than that, standard Incin, Flutter Mane with Raging Bolt, so Incin in the Sun plus 2 Protomons, pretty standard, and then there's the Ogerpon Heart Flame, also going to do more damage in the Sun, right? So, from here, again, it's just all about the Weather War. As always, the constant battle between Kyogre and Groudon. So we know Groudon's in the back. He could switch out the Iron Valiant right here, right now. All right, Torn Ogre is going to look to do something. And he instead opts for the Wide Guard. We play around that. I go for Tailwind, and I just go for Ice Beam. Deal big damage. That does not look like Assault Vest to me at all. Or maybe Kyogre's just that strong. But he goes for the E-Web instead. All right, now he goes into Groudon. I thought he would do this turn 1, okay, but he does it now instead. I protect the Tornadus here, all right, and I just Ice Beam the Raging Bolt, more damage, and he goes for the Draco. That's not going to do it. He's going to trap himself here at -2. So all I have to do is just, reposition here. All right, let's protect the Ogre first, okay, and I go for the Bleakwind, right, just to try and catch him, right, because I figured, oh, he's going to switch anyway. Let me just protect. So I do get to remove the Iron Veil, which is great news for me, right? He brings the Ogerpon, so that's also pretty good. Let me go Chien-Pao here. I decide to give this one up because I just need to reposition here, Okay, so there's the spiky shield. Groudon double protects along with Ogre Palm. I don't even know why. At this point, I was still testing Scary Face here, right? But he goes into Bolt here, right? He gets a little Sun Boost, but that doesn't really help him. I get my reset of Tailwind anyway, and I chip the Ogre Palm enough, and he goes for Encore, right? That's fine. So in the end, Raging Bull goes for Terra. I don't know why he does that, because he's just going to lose it right here. I would never attack the Ogre Palm in this scenario. Absolutely never, okay? Get rid of the Bolt. All right, now it's just Groudon coming in, right? But at this point, I have so much of an advantage. He can't really do a whole lot. All I have to do is just remove the Ogre Palm, and then Kyogre can just come in and clean things up against the Groudon. Win the Weather War pretty much, but he can't. We don't even need to get to that point, right? Because you know, Groudon is just going to fall to the Chien-Pao here. All right, this one is Calyrex, Shadow Rider with Indeedee, Tailwind stuff with also Chi-Yu. So, you know, again, this is where Chien-Pao is going to have really good value, along with my Urshifu over here, if I can just punch this Calyrex here. But there's the Indeedee Calyrex, right? So there's the Urshifu. Okay, again, this is still fine, right? So we're going to blow up this terrain, right? And I don't want the Urshifu to die to Expanding Force. I'm just going to Terra it right now. Okay, he also goes for his Terra. He's looking for boosted Expanding Force damage. I'm just going to go Surging Strikes. And because he doesn't have Rocky Helmet, this is always safe. Right, he has the seed anyway. So there's the Ice Spinner. We blow up his terrain, Expanding Force, a little bit of damage, but not enough because again we removed it. That was Life Orb Calyrex, right? So he protects in front of Urshifu. Very interesting, right? So this is why I'm also going into the Whimsicott. I probably should just hit the Calyrex. I was trying to call the Ogre Palm switch, but it never came, right? So I get punished for that. So that's on me. I guess it's still fine even if he goes into Ogre Palm anyway. Right, but at least we removed the Calyrex, right? We still punched the Indeedee, right? I thought he would switch right there, but he didn't. Okay, so he's gonna let me punch the Calyrex and then, you know, get rid of the Whimsicott here. So he could have had still 2 under Tailwind. So there's the Chi-Yu, and this could have been Calyrex, right? But instead, it's just Chi-Yu by itself. I'm just gonna protect here. All I need to do is just get my Kyogre out here, you know, in the rain, and Archaludon just soaks this up. I can't take another one. But again, it's still fine because I let both of these go down. And here's Urshifu, right? And here's my Kyogre. And this Chi-Yu can no longer do that much damage. He goes for Heat Wave. That's enough to remove the Ursh, but not enough for the Ogre, right? All I have to do is just click Water Spout, and that's pretty much it for that Chi-Yu. Again, another Groudon Weather team. So, you know, again, just Raging Bull, Flutter Mane with Incin. That's the standard, along with Rillaboom, Chien-Pao. Good team there. I like his squad a lot. It makes a lot of sense. That's pretty much how I would do it in terms of, like, good balance. So yeah, here we go. So he goes Groudon here as a lead, right? And again, I'm going to go Urshifu-Rapid Strike here, and I'm going to go Amoongus, right? The reason why I wanted to do Amoongus is I want to sport this Groudon, okay? He goes for Fake Out into the Ursh, no Grassy Glide. I knew I could take one, so that's why I did this. And he goes for Fire Punch into the Amoongus, right? Not enough to KO, and I do get my Spore off on ground, so that's good, okay? Now, interesting with the Rillaboom here, he says, no, Clover, you don't get to live here because I'm Terra Grass Rillaboom. All right, I've never seen Terra Grass before in my life, so Grassy Glide does pick up the KO, unfortunately. But now, guess what? I get to bring in the Kyogre. Okay, Rillaboom, I don't care. All right, he goes into Incin, and, you know, I click Water Spout here. I don't need to click Tailwind. I just need to click Bleakwind Storm here just to make sure that the Rillaboom does not do what it needs to do, and then I just click Water Spout, and that's it. Incineroar came in for nothing. Now, Groudon gets to come in again. This is where, you know, manual Rain Dance would have been good, right? Because then I just win. But I just need to get my Tailwind going here. All right, but I'm going to go Amoongus first, reset the weather, okay? And Groudon stays asleep. That's good for me. Trick Room from the Flutter Mane. That was a surprise, but it makes a lot of sense, you know, with a Booster Energy, Flutter Mane, something like that. Well, not Booster, but you know what I mean. Groudon wakes up. Fire Punch does hurt a lot still. All right, he does burn me. Okay, and I, you know, don't connect with Bleakwind. But that's okay, right? Because now, guess what I do next? I just need to Spore the Flutter Mane here, right? So I'm going to go into Ogre. I know Groudon can't KO the Amoongus in the rain. I know he can't do that. So I Spore the Flutter, which is good. Groudon goes for another Fire Punch. The Amoongus lives. So now I can get off another Spore next turn, right? Because, again, he clicked Trick Room here. You know, the tail is not going to matter. So he protects one turn. But then that just means Kyogre is just in a good position to click Water Spout, right? Which is what happens and Flutter Mane just drops. All right, and again, still one more turn. I can just, again, once again, put him to sleep. And that's pretty much it because now Kyogre clicks another Water Spout and takes out Groudon. Alright, so there's the pace one more time. So again, it looks like a pretty standard Tornogre Timmy team, right? It's easy. It's an easy team to start. If you're trying to learn the game right from the get-go, I would just either recommend Kyogre or I would just recommend Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? And, it's not, terribly hard to play, right? Like I said, it's easy. It's just another synonym for playing it. You've got Amoongus for your Trick Room games. You've got Archaludon for very specific matchups. Chien-Pao Urshifu is always going to be good for your physical damage as well as blowing up terrain. And then, Tornadus or Kyogre, just, they have to respect Tailwind Water Spout, right? And if they can't, they're in trouble. So always look for that wide guard user first, okay? And then from there, just handle things. But give this one a go. Let us know how you do. And if you need help with regulationG team building, if you need help, with your EV spreads or whatnot, if you're trying to go to a regional, if you're trying to go to, Los Angeles or NAIC or whatever, and you got a Premier Challenge or Mid-Season Challenge coming up and you need some help, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a Discord call with me where we can build the team from scratch and get you the squad that you need, and hopefully move on from there, right? And get your regulationG journeys up to a good start. In the pinned comment section of the video, in the comment section, like I said, you can find the same link, right? Join the channel with that Tier 3 sub. And then from there, you can message me on Discord, and then we can talk and plan out our session from there. All right, but that's going to do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.